three negotiating points throughout a transaction that are very crucial to this going well, which is what we're going to talk about today. Before we get into all that, please like, comment, subscribe, share, all those fun things that really help grow the channel. Hope you be more informed on how real estate really works, what real estate agents really do, and how this actually happens, from the front lines, from the real raw truth of somebody that practices real estate day in and day out. I know there's a lot of lawyers, attorneys, popular opinion, headlines, general public who thinks they know and understand what we do, but hopefully this channel helps you shed some insight into Wichita and also just real estate and how it really works from somebody who regularly practices and closes deals and transacts them. And I can speak from experience on these situations, not just theory and concept and hearsay. And it baffles me how many people are speaking on real estate and transactions and negotiating that have no credibility to do so, no data, no proof to show that what they're talking about is legitimate and factual. So that's what I'm very passionate about bringing to light, is how real estate really works, what real estate agents really do. Because I think if more people knew what they actually did, they would have a newfound appreciation for the value of a good agent. I'm not going to argue that every agent is equal and provides the same level of service, because that's like any service contractor that's out there. Certain companies provide better levels of service and expertise and quality than others. And that is the same thing is true for real estate agents. So the three things we're going to cover today for key negotiating points within a transaction is, the first scenario is getting your offer accepted, whether you're on the buyer side or the seller side, and all the different strategies and nuances that go into that. And I'll show you a few things that kind of help break that down to understand a little bit more. The second one is the inspection period and repair request negotiation. That's kind of your second negotiating point. That's a very key piece of real estate and keeping a deal together and resolving something, the transaction, making something work out between all parties that works, that everybody can agree to. And then number three is the appraisal negotiations and the potentials that can come in with that. Low, high repair conditions, who pays for it, how do we pay for it, when do we get it done to close on time, and everything that goes on within a real estate transaction. So hopefully this video gives you some insight into the key negotiating skills that a good quality agent has and can guide you through and help you through to understand the value of an agent, what they do, how they do it, before you get into it all, into real estate. So the first one is getting an offer accepted. And this is not as simple as just mailing it in, phoning it in, and sending somebody a contract, emailing it over to them, and they either accept it or deny it. There's a lot of nuance that goes into this when you play the game right and you do it well. And whether you're on the buy side or the seller side, negotiating isn't just being a strong arm bully that's just a jerk and is just resistant and just won't give in and just wants it their way or the highway. It takes a lot of tactical empathy to understand their side of the equation, understand our side of the equation, and navigate a scenario that can work for both buyer and seller to be agreeable to all these things, so that we can put an agreement together to get an offer accepted and to move forward. And that's not just saying no, 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 no. And that's also not just giving in to everything either. It's a fragile, delicate process between humans that has a lot to do with tonality, the way you present things, the way you understand them and frame it, so that it's coming from a place of where this works for everyone. And having that perception of being that way and crafting that is not just a scientific process, but it's also an art and a skill that certain agents and certain people are better critical thinkers, problem solvers. There's relationships that go into all this. There's a lot of nuance and sophistication that goes into submitting offers, and some of these advanced negotiation strategies have. Same thing with being a listing agent. Some of the offers I see in, or ways that we can negotiate these offers at the listing agent with the buyer's agent or the buyer to put together an offer and a deal that works for the seller too. So let me share screen quick, give you an idea of what I mean. So this is what we hand out to a good amount of our clients as far as our resume, and then our advanced negotiating strategies that goes over in writing for people to kind of understand a little bit more some of the things we do, like escalation clauses, appraisal gap coverage, as is, non-refundable earnest money. This is a big one. I can't stress this one enough. Local reputation of knowledge. of agents that are known for either being good quality agents or who are known for being a hassle, a nuisance, kill deals, like hardball people. You know, there is a reputation to agents in the way they conduct and handle their business. Same thing with lenders, same thing with inspectors, same thing with insurance companies, warranties, title companies. So a lot of that local reputation and knowledge of how other people are, but then also the local reputation and knowledge of the agent that you use. You know, so how much PR work, how much political diplomacy goes into it all. There's a lot of social warfare that can go into getting your offer accepted or getting a favorable offer on your listing that goes with it all. So it's not quite so simple as just emailing in an offer or writing in an offer online or just texting over an offer. There's a lot of sophistication and nuance to working through this process of getting a good offer put together. And there's honestly an art to it. There's also on the purchase side, things like asking the seller to cover your closing costs, sale leaseback options. On the selling side, listing and launching well to generate traffic and competition for the above to occur. And advertising, condition, and price, get a home sold. Advertise, like, and you could see more of this, but you get kind of an idea of how that's a key negotiating point that goes into this, is just the fact of even getting an offer accepted is a critical piece when it comes to negotiating that your agent pulls off for you. So now that you got the offer accepted, there's two more critical pieces that go into this. Usually there's about a 10 to 15 day business period for doing inspections, and they can do all kinds of inspections, from a general inspection to a roof inspection, plumbing inspection, sewer scope inspection, radon inspection, mold inspection, structural engineer report, all type of different nuanced things that go around the construction of the house and understanding construction and what's a big deal killing problem, what's not, the cost of things, what's not, and then also going with that construction data, the psychology of negotiating with the buyer or the agent, how they feel and think about things, and how the seller feels and thinks about things, and all the nuances that go in between all that. There's a lot of psychology, there's a lot of maneuvering, there's a lot of strategy, and there's a very sophisticated process that goes in there to pass that second key milestone in negotiating, is the inspection period and the repair request piece of that. So obviously there's a lot that goes into that, more than I can cover in this situation. And a lot of it's a very case by case unique scenario situation. That's your second place that an agent really comes to shine, of keeping the deal together, because it's not just enough to get an offer accepted. You have to keep the deal together and have everybody come to an agreement to continue to move forward. And a lot of times as a seller, you want to come to plan for and expect them to ask for things and to request repairs. And there's 3 different ways that that can happen after the inspection and repair requests come in. You guys can either agree to take money off of the deal, which is usually preferred. That way the buyer can then hire their own contractors to do the work and to oversee the work and make sure it's done to their satisfaction, because there's usually a conflict between seller and buyer in that regards. The other side of that is you can just say, yeah, I'll agree to do it all, get it all fixed. Then you got to provide receipts, repairs, proof of funds, or I'm sorry, proof that you did the work. They'll do a final walkthrough, test it all, has to be to the buyer's liking. And then before you can go to close, or you could potentially walk away and this deal could fall apart and the buyer get their earnest money back in that situation, and you just don't have a deal in that place. So it's a very critical, crucial step, is how well your agent negotiates and handles that situation. It's also very critical to know the buyer situation and how that agent handles those situations, because I see a lot of new, inexperienced, dramatic, emotional, not construction competent people that end up killing deals. And we're seeing more and more cancellations than ever from agents and people not knowing how to handle this situation with a level head and to look at reason and logic and come up with a solution or a situation that works for everyone to keep a deal together. Because it's not enough to just get a deal put together. You have to keep it together to get it to closing. And that's a second huge big negotiating point, is the inspection period. The third one that we're seeing doesn't happen as often, but it does happen, is the appraisal negotiation. Obviously, if it comes in low, you got to negotiate, and there's 3 things that can happen there. The buyer can either bring the remaining difference in funds to satisfy the purchase price. The seller can either adjust the price down to where the appraisal is at, or some mixture of that in between. Or the third is, again, it can fall apart. Buyer gets their earnest money back. We couldn't come to terms on the appraisal conditions and contingency, couldn't come to agreement, and we're not selling the house anymore, and it goes back on the market. is what happens. So that's that third negotiating piece that comes with it. And that has to do just with value. The other thing that goes into this is depending on the loan type, if it's FHA or VA, they usually have stricter guidelines on what they will accept. An appraiser will accept, and you have to go out and have the appraiser look at the house and evaluate if it passes FHA and VA guidelines. And there can be a good amount of repair conditions involved with that too. And then also negotiating, okay, who pays for that? Are we adjusting purchase price once that comes in? Because if the appraisal came in, for example, on what we had recently, purchase price of 156, appraisal came in at 164, but then it had all this list of repair conditions. The seller doesn't have to just eat it. He could say, hey, I'm willing to do all these things, but I want you to up your purchase price to 161 because you have it in the appraisal. And so there's those different type of negotiation strategies that go into real estate that if you're doing this on your own and you've never done this before, like these are the type of things that you work at, like you miss out on, or your deal potentially falls apart on when you're not using an experienced, knowledgeable agent who knows how to negotiate and handle these situations and guide you and advise you through these things so that it goes well and successfully and it still gets to the closing table. So that's the third big key negotiating piece, is the appraisal piece. So right there in and of itself, getting offer accepted, inspection repair request negotiations, appraisal negotiations, there's a tremendous amount of value there that a good agent knows how to handle and advise and negotiate. But I can't say that every agent provides or every service provider provides or does well in that situation, including the general public. Because I know there's people that think they can negotiate on their own and handle things on their own and do all this on their own. But what they don't realize is, like, if you're just a mean bully and jerk throughout this whole situation, like, they can just back out. And people are more scared than ever. They're more fragile than ever. And so to handle them skillfully, softly, with also getting the deal done and being stern is an art, and it's a delicate craft in order to navigate that scenario and that situation. So there's three places that your agent comes in clutch to negotiate for you in these critical pieces throughout a transaction. And then obviously there's closing and getting the loan done, getting the title work done, arranging for everyone to show up to closing, when you take possession, all those things go with it. So hopefully this helps you kind of learn and understand a little bit more about real estate, what agents do, how Wichita, Kansas works in our market, and all those things go with it. And appreciate you watching. If you've been watching this long, I know there's a lot of me talking a lot. So appreciate you watching. Hopefully this helps. Check out my other videos on Wichita and real estate, that kind of thing. And we'll just go from there and hopefully talk with you soon. See ya.